Hey, welcome back, Ram fans. Got another Saturday morning roundtable here for you. Farbod and Scott on board. What's going on, Farbod? How you doing? How's your little guy doing?
He's going, man. I will say during the Panthers game he was a little fussy, so his good luck kind of seems to have ran out. But I think the key is I gotta keep him a little more calm during the game, fed, nap time, all that stuff. So you
Yeah,
can blame him for that loss.
yeah. Every time I was out to dinner last night and I saw a little guy just going bonkers in the restaurant, and I thought of you. It's like, yep,
Oh yeah.
Farbod's gonna be dealing with. You're not dealing with it quite yet, but
Oh,
we get that
when he's
four or
hungry.
five. Yeah, we found out that it's best just to not go to restaurants for 3 or 4 years there. We're in that 4 or 5 year old phase. It's just not worth it. Even my grandson even said one day when we took him out to dinner, he said, I told you this was a bad idea. And he was right. What's going on, Scott? How you doing? Dealing with the
Doing
weather
great.
there?
Land of smiles. Weather's beautiful, like usual.
Yeah, nice to hear. So, man, we all kind of like took one on the chin with our predictions with this Panthers game. Maybe we should have known better, but we didn't. The Rams, good teams like this, they have mulligans, they have bad outings, and this was hopefully the worst one for the Rams, losing this game to the Panthers. And in my mind, it was all about, it's really strange. The Panthers did not run the ball or hardly even tried to run the ball against the 49ers. And then we come into town and it's like run it down our throat. So,
Yeah.
and it worked, it worked. Scott, did you have any final thoughts on this game before we get into this game with the Cardinals?
No, it's just they had a great game plan. It was the perfect storm for them. If we don't throw that first interception off the helmet of that defender, we're up 14 points, and it's probably a completely different game. From that point on, they just had a great game plan, executed, and the Rams just got caught. I'm not going to say they weren't looking past the Panthers, but it was just the perfect storm for them. Nothing, give them all the credit.
Yeah, typically a trap game, you're looking, it would have made sense if they had the 49ers or the Seahawks this week, but it's the Cardinals. So I don't really buy that they would be, looking past the Panthers, but hey, they're human beings, a lot of young guys on this team. It happens. Farbod, the first thing you wanted to talk about was, I assume, well, let's just talk about this first. And this was all over social media.
Yeah.
The that third, well, you take it away. It was
Yeah.
our last chance to maybe get back into this game and steal a win. Tell us what
Right.
happened here.
Right. Yeah. So, as you guys, for those of you listening on the podcast, there is a screenshot of the overview layout of the final play with the positions of each player and the numbers associated to them. So, you see who's who. So, you see what the Panthers line up in, you see what our defenses line up in. And it shows the routes. It shows number 18's route, who caught the ball. I don't remember his name, but he's the one who caught the ball that essentially sealed their fate. In the middle, you see number 48. That's Omar Spates. I want to give the credit to the person that posted this that I came across. His name is Benjamin Solak, at Benjamin Solak on Twitter, okay? He goes, looks like Omar Spates, 48, had the defensive call wrong. He's running with the running back like it's man coverage. Everyone else is in zone. So for those of you, again, listening on the podcast, you do see that they're in shotgun, the Panthers, with number 30, and he just runs an out route, like a dump off route off to the side. And 48, which is Omar's, in the middle. And I guess the call was zone defense, where naturally you're not going to follow as the middle linebacker out when the running back runs out. You're going to let the person in that zone follow him. You stay in your zone in the middle. Instead, Spates, I guess, I don't know what happened there, but he reads man and he leaks out. What does that do? That leaves the middle of the field wide open. You guys saw how just wide open that guy was who caught the ball. And that seems to be the issue. Now, here's my question and my issue I wanted to talk to you guys about. I don't remember this being so much of an issue in the past, especially when it was Captain Q, who was our previous defensive play caller on that side of the ball. Now we know it's Landman for now. Now, what caused this? Was it an Omar Spates issue? Did he just have a mental lapse? Or is there maybe a slight issue with Landman's delivery on the calls? because again, this should not be happening. Everyone on the defense should be on the same page on the call. It shouldn't be everyone's playing zone and only one person in a very key area of the field right on the first down marker is playing a different call on defense and he's playing man. What do you guys think? Do you think this is an issue with Landman, or did Spates just have a mental hiccup on this specific play?
I can only guess. Who knows? It was 3rd and 5, and maybe you could question Spates even being in there at all on a 3rd and 5 in this situation. Maybe they just assumed the Panthers were going to try to run the ball. Yeah, what do you think, Scott? Can you take a guess at what happened here?
Oh, I'm pretty confident it was his error for reading man coverage, but how big of an issue is it? I don't know, because when you're a wide receiver and and your quarterback knows you're playing zone defense, that wide receiver is not going to run to where Spates is. He's going to run in between Spates and the left corner. He's going to find the area between them to sit down and catch a pass. In my opinion, they probably would have completed it either way, even if he'd played zone. So to me, it goes against what I don't like about Spates. I don't think he's good in coverage. This just goes to prove that. But I think on 3rd and 5 and with Spates in the game, that receiver probably would have found the hole in the zone, most likely. So.
Maybe Spates being in there was what dictated the call in the first place. But it's worth wondering if the loss of Quentin Lake and his management of the defense. And, the call comes in from the sideline, but there's always adjustments in the communication that has to take place. So definitely something to be a little concerned about. But I think Ian talked about this play in his film analysis as well. Mm-hmm. So, it's a disappointing outing. A lot of things going against the Rams here. Poona Ford not being 100% obviously contributed to that. A trip to the East Coast, even though the Rams typically don't, manage those games pretty well under Sean McVay. And then the weather probably, didn't help either. But it apparently didn't help our defense, because it was clearly our worst outing aside from the second half against the Eagles, where our pass defense really fell apart in that one.
Yeah.
I had just a last thought on that, if I could.
Sure.
About the Rams secondary. People complained about Forbes, and when he was at Mississippi State, he led the nation in interceptions. It's because he played off the line of scrimmage and he was very good at reading the quarterback. The Rams asked him to get up there and play press coverage on that first TD he gave up. And I don't think that's his forte. I think you would have to maybe put one of the other cornerbacks, expect them to play better press coverage. I think he should have been playing off. But then again, if they throw it short for a first down, people are going to complain either way. So, and the last thought was that first big, was it the running back screen for their first touchdown?
Right.
I don't know if anybody noticed, but Witherspoon was playing left cornerback. And he was at arm's length with the wide receiver. He wasn't really being engaged or being blocked. The running back had the ball, ran right by him, and Witherspoon didn't even attempt to go to his right to try and make a tackle. To me, that's way bigger than the that last pass given up by Spates.
Yeah, that's brutal.
It left me just, what happened, man?
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, and he didn't have a lot. He didn't have a lot of snaps, and I guess I haven't looked at it, but maybe he's still a little shy of contact coming back from the injury. I don't want to throw too much shade on the guy without knowing what happened, but I think you lose Quentin Lake, Keller Witherspoon comes back. Losing Lake's obviously a big negative. Getting Witherspoon back is a good positive, but you got a lot of moving parts in the secondary. And I mentioned this beforehand. It's there's going to be a breakdown potentially in communication and assignments. And that probably happened at least a couple of times in this game, I have a feeling.
And real quick, Mark, just a few other thoughts just to piggyback what that play Scott mentioned, that touchdown Chuba Hubbard had. If you notice, there was a motion there that had them outnumber us on defense on that side of the ball. even let's be honest, even if Akello had engaged Scott, who knows if he would have been blocked successfully enough where he still would have been taken out of the play. That's what the Panthers wanted to do. I agree, he should have definitely at least tried. That's ridiculous he didn't even try. But at the end of the day, they outnumbered us on that play on that side of the ball due to the motion. Why is it they did that motion and there didn't even seem to be a bump? Like nobody moved over extra, nobody motioned over extra. Maybe we were playing zone, nobody followed the motion guy. Okay, but it just looked like they stayed pat after the motion, and it was just easy. It shouldn't ever be like that. When there's that many players on that side of the ball, isn't it football 101? You should at least have at least that many people on that side of the ball as well. On that side of the field. That blew my mind.
Yeah, you think I have to go back and look at it.
Yeah, I noticed it right away.
Know,
I noticed there was a motion. There was like 3 or 4 guys on that side of the ball, and we had like 2. And I was like, what? Or that side of the field. And I'm like, what are we doing? They're about to score on that side of the ball. I knew it was coming. I said, there's no way we're going to be able to stop that side of the ball now. That side of the field. I keep saying ball. But yeah, and that shocked me. That shocked me.
Yeah, I think, a couple of those plays, including that one, I didn't go back and look. I was just covering my eyes in disgust at how easy that touchdown was. And I used to spend more time during the game going back and looking at plays, but now I don't do that anymore. I'm afraid I'm going to miss something, fall behind. But yeah, that was not a good look. There was a handful of plays like that were not a good look. So hopefully the Rams get that straightened out. Putting some bad stuff on tape for future opponents, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I hope McVay also learns his lesson, just because in the red zone, guys, I mean, yeah, I get it. We're so successful with throwing it with Devontae. That's like automatic, obviously. But you guys remember last year, our bread and butter in the red zone was running the ball. Kyron is amazing in the red zone. We seem to just be getting more and more away from that. And I hope against the Cardinals, we see a little bit more of that. Even if it's so successful, we see what can happen, the risks of throwing the ball in the red zone, whether it's an interception or a fumble with Stafford. That happened. And hey, tons of kudos. I mean, look, I think we all really underestimated Derek Brown. That guy, it might be the most underrated guy, D lineman in the NFL right now. He single-handedly dominated us, it seemed like, whether it was his helmet that the ball tipped off for that first pick, whether it was that strip sack of Stafford. I mean, those are 2 key plays off one guy. And kudos to him.
Yeah, he definitely gets the game ball for the Panthers. One of the game balls.
You would think.
Yeah. Okay, enough of that game. Let's real quickly, Joshua Carty back with the Rams on the practice squad, and interesting development. I guess the Rams said that this is what they're going to do, and that's what they did. And hopefully they can rehab him. I can't imagine, if there's a playoff team or even a non-playoff team that has kicker issues that are going to grab him at this point. I think he's pretty safe on our practice squad based on what we saw. So we'll see what happens with him. It's just worth mentioning. Joshua Carty, at least, is happy for him. At least he's going to get a chance to redeem himself eventually. And if Mevis struggles, hey, who knows?
I feel bad for Mevis, man. I mean, he's doing everything we ask of him, and yet he still has to look over his shoulder just because McVay doesn't want to let go of Carty. I feel bad for Mevis.
But hey, he's in a really good spot. He's going to have an opportunity to make it in the NFL as a place kicker for a perennial contender. So I don't feel too bad for him.
Yeah,
not too bad.
If you look at it that way, Mark, I get it. Okay.
So a couple of player news items I wanted to mention because they could or will impact the Rams. Lions losing their safety. We lost Quentin Lake. At least we have a chance of getting him back. The Lions will not be getting Brian Branch back, and we play the Lions here pretty soon. Quite the bummer. He's a great player. And then the Cardinals announcing that Kyler Murray will not be returning to the playing field this year. I'm thinking he might be done, and the Cardinals are going to make a move at a quarterback in this draft. And Any opinion, Scott, on Kyler Murray and his future in the NFL? Does he have a place in the NFL if the Cardinals move on from him? Going to be maybe just a back? He'd probably be a great backup quarterback, a guy that can come in and really mix things up coming off the bench, I suppose.
I think it would have to be whether Gannon, the coach, whether he's retained or not, because he's a big supporter of Murray. If Gannon is let go, I would think Murray is gone.
Yeah. And do you think is he have a shot at returning as a starting quarterback in the NFL anywhere, or is he just going to be a backup moving forward? What do you think?
And he's got a pretty high end contract. That contract would have to somehow be negotiated down with a new team somehow.
Yeah. You have an opinion on Kyler Murray, Farbod?
I don't think he has the love of the game that you want out of a starting quarterback, with whether it's his mannerisms, his body language during the game, whether his attention to detail. We all know the jokes with him as far as his love for video games and Modern Warfare, and they had to put in the contracts he can only play whatever so many hours of it. Like, come on, that's the fact you have to. Like, come on, you're supposed to be the leader of your team. You're your starting quarterback, QB1. Your head has to be all in. And man, just when you guys, when you see things like that, we're the division rival, especially, isn't it so nice we have a field general like Stafford at the helm? We never have to worry about that. That guy is all in, Stafford. As far as Murray being a starting, I don't know. I think that's up to Kyler. I think it's if he develop. I mean, he's made quite a bit of money to maybe just be done mentally. So I don't know. Maybe a backup is his future, Mark.
I've always, I've never been a big fan of that style of quarterback as my starter, but at the other side of the coin, when the Rams are playing another team and they got a pocket quarterback that we're going up against, and then he goes down and they bring in someone like Kyler Murray, it's like, oh geez, please no. Those guys can really change the complexion of a game so fast when you go from your standard, NFL pocket quarterback to someone like Kyler Murray coming off the bench. But so the Rams injury report, it's interesting. Tutu Atwell has not been activated, at least the last I saw, and he's a full participant, but they list him as questionable. I guess they mean it's questionable whether they're going to activate him. I don't know what that means. Usually when you're full, you're not listed as questionable or doubtful or anything. And Puna Ford also questionable. To me, that's the big one. And then doubtful Darius Williams. I think the Rams are well, they got the guys to replace Darius in the rotation. Akila would obviously get more snaps, and Josh Wallace, Jalen McCullough as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the Puna Ford thing, man, that's scary. So, Scott, how do you feel about? Do you think it's a big deal concerning that the Rams just don't seem to be willing to activate Tutu? Do you have a theory on why that is the case?
Yeah, I could see him being. I think we could see him not active for the rest of the season. Due to the fact that they're carrying 4 tight ends on the 53. They're carrying extra cornerbacks. The benefit of Xavier, the wide receiver, is he's your return man. So you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, using him as your 4th wide receiver. Because of that, I think there's a good chance you might not see Tutu Atwell till the end of the season unless things change dramatically, or they go back to more 11 personnel between now and then.
I can see if someone else gets banged up or they lose another tight end and just bail on the 13 personnel, or if Mumfield or Whittington, something happens with one of them. How about you, Farbod? Are you in the Tutu Atwell camp, or do you think it's much ado about nothing?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely support the guy. It would have been nice. I'll just say it real quick. Again, would have been nice if we had Creed Humphrey, but hey, that's in the past. But I just, it is what it is. He doesn't have a room in the offense right now. He doesn't have room, and it's like you mentioned, Scott. It's the whole 13 personnel thing. There's just he doesn't have a role in special teams. It's like, where are you going to put him? what is he going to do with the X stepping up so much and still have Whittington on there? I think it is, Mark, like you said, it's going to take an injury. Yeah, unless there's an injury at one of our key receiver positions, then yeah, we're not going to see Tutu. And man, that's $10 million down the drain, seemingly. Ouch. Oof.
Yeah, and the thing about Xavier is he has done everything that's been asked of him the whole entire time he's been here. Super great ball security on the returns. I'd hate to see when I'm knocking on wood here. he's I'm not superstitious, but why not? Knock on the wood to make sure Xavier continues to have great ball security. He has some nice returns. He had that big return last year against the 49ers that in some ways may have saved our season, how we were in a bad spot. And then, this season he's kind of looked a lot like Tutu, in the passing game. So you don't need both of them, unfortunately, is kind of what McVay's thinking. I guess that's what we're all thinking here. But Puna is that's a really concerning issue for me. And I'll talk about a little bit more about that when we get to our players to watch. And the Cardinals injury report, I was going to start typing this in, and I said, no, it's just too long of a list. So I took a snapshot here. And the big ones are obviously Walter Nolan, the defensive lineman, Max Melton, the cornerback, Marvin Harrison, and Greg Dorsch, their two wide receivers, both out. And, I don't know, man. I don't know how much of a deal how big of a deal we should make about this because, the Rams have lost, two games to teams that were really banged up. And the Cardinals equally bound as banged up as the 49ers were and the Panthers, maybe even more so. So Farbod, what do you make of this injury report? Is it something, obviously their passing game's going to have some issues without Harrison and Dorsch. They still got Trey McBride, though. That's obviously going to be the primary concern of our defense at this point.
Right. Well, first, I'd just say, Mark, that I listened to a few podcasts over the week, and there was a decent amount of crossover episodes of Arizona Cardinals podcasters chiming in. And based on what they said, apparently their run game is in a big flux. They cannot run the ball for the life of them. That's why you're seeing Brissett drop back 40, 50 times. It's not because they want him to. It's out of survival, to quote the podcaster. So they expect Brissett again to drop back 50 times. It's going to be a drop back fest. And I don't think, you mentioned you're worried about Puna being questionable, maybe not to full capacity. Maybe this is the perfect game where he can kind of take a little bit of a rest. Not saying not active, but maybe we don't need a 100% Puna this game. Their running game is non-existent. Their O-line is not blocking well. Of course, I'm going to eat my words and they're going to run for 500 yards on us. Yeah, naturally. But I think it's just salt in the wound that their top two receivers in Harrison Jr. and Dorsch are out. I'm so curious what this game's going to look like. I don't think it can look worse for this team right now facing us. And I'm just so scared to say we're going to destroy them because you know what happens when I say that.
Yeah, their leading rusher is Bam Knight, a bit of a journeyman running back.
Yeah,
he's averaging 3.4 yards per carry, and his longest is 17 yards. And Trey Benson, the running back, is out. So yeah, they got James Conner, a guy that's really hurt us in the past. Mm-hmm. So this is a team that's really limping into this game. And yeah, you think that the Cardinals would say, "Oh man, what we saw last week, we're going to try to run the ball," but that may not be a good plan. I don't know what their plan could be though on offense. It's a head scratcher. What do you think, Scott? How is this injury report going to impact maybe the Cardinals' approach to this game on offense?
Well, I think they'll probably still attempt to run the ball. The interior of their line is healthy. I can't speak for what Farbod heard about them not able to run the ball, but if Puna Ford's out, if I was an offensive coordinator, I would try to run between the tackles against the Rams.
Yeah.
Because just about any NFL running back can gain yards if the offensive line is somewhat competent. So Um, I'll probably expand on that as we go towards our players to watch. I'll expand on that further.
Yeah, and their Cardinals' primary hope here is to shorten the game and have long drives that eat up some time. So they almost have to try to run the ball, and if that doesn't work, if they're just punting it to the Rams, it's going to be a long day for them. But yeah, I think I agree. It's gonna start with a run game. Maybe try to be creative. Screens, jet sweeps, something to get their run game going with Harrison and Dorshout. And then Trey McBride is obviously going to be he's going to have to save the day for them, and I still think he might be the best tight end in football. So Scott's player to watch, you selected Byron Young. Explain it to us, please.
Okay, going back to what we were talking about, the Cardinals being down on the offensive line, their right tackle, Jonah Williams, has been on IR, and their swing tackle, Kelvin Beachum, he's been substituting for him at right tackle. Now, Kelvin Beachum hasn't been able to practice all week. He's questionable with the lingering groin injury. So with that said, this is why I see Byron Young having an opportunity rushing from the right side of the offensive formation to have a big day and get some sacks. Cardinals are giving up on offense. They've allowed 42 sacks, so they're giving up about 3.5 sacks a game.
Ouch.
Along with the number of pressures they're giving up. I don't have that number, but this just appears to be the right situation for Byron Young to have a big game going up against a backup tackle that's not healthy. And even if they have to put in the guy behind him, which is Josh Fryer, he has 31 pass blocking attempts, and he only is graded out per PFF out of 48, which is way below NFL average. So I think the Rams pass rush should have a big day against the Cardinals.
Let me ask you this, Scott. I was thinking about this the other day, and I didn't want to get Ram fans spun up. But who's a better player right now, Byron Young or Jared Verse?
Ooh,
good question.
I think aesthetically, Byron Young would be to the average football player that doesn't know the X's and O's, because he's getting to the quarterback more. But Verse is, with him pushing left tackles back into the quarterback, he's forcing quarterbacks to make decisions and get rid of the ball faster that the average fan doesn't see. So they're both effective. I would have to give the edge to Young because he's getting more of the tangible statistics in his favor.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it. I think stats wise and aesthetically, that's a good way of putting it. Byron Young, it jumps off the screen if you're watching a random fan watching a game. But if you really look closer, Jared Verse is still getting it done. So I'm not trying to throw shade on Jared Verse here at all. But, last year, Jared Verse got most of the love, and Byron Young was a little bit under the radar, on the national scale anyways. And this year it's kind of flipped, but I think, I still think most, random fans, know who Jared Verse is, and maybe not so much Byron Young at this point. But, that's just how it goes. Jared Verse attracts a lot of attention with his style of play and the way he engages, opponents and fans. It's fun stuff though. So Farbod, your player to watch is Matthew Stafford. I assuming you're just looking for a big bounce back game from him. Not that he was horrible last week.
Yeah, exactly, Mark. And, this Rams team, at least one game a season, it looks like they just completely drop the ball on not just their special teams, because our 2 losses leading up to this Panthers game, you can argue were due to the special teams. Okay, that's a little bit of a cop-out, but maybe you could argue that. This game was not a special teams loss. It was on the offense and defense. We haven't had a loss like that this season. This is our first and only one, hopefully. And we need at least one. It reminds me of when we played specifically the Bears last season with a rookie quarterback. I thought we were going to destroy them, and we lose that game. We just dropped the ball. It's like we need at least one of these games to get out of our system to keep us humble, to keep us focused. Hopefully that Panthers game was that game. And hopefully, yeah, usually when we have a loss like that, we come back absolutely swinging the next game. Specifically, the person who did not play up to their full potential. That person, exactly, Mark, Matthew Stafford, Glock 9. I think he's about to be laser focused. He's going to come out hot. He's going to not underthrow, not overthrow. He's going to be as focused as you possibly can be going into this game. And it should be a good, fun watch. I'm really excited to see Stafford sling it tomorrow.
Yeah, and we know weather won't be a problem for our offense or our defense for that matter. And he's zeroing in on some moving up the record books in passing yards and TDs. So that's something to monitor as well. I think he's about to pass Phillip Rivers and a couple other guys.
And another one that's not too nice, Mark, is the record for most pick sixes. I think he's tied right now with Brett Favre with like 32 or something like that. And if he gets one more, he's going to be the all-time leader, which whatever. We don't care about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, doesn't Jeff Fisher hold the record for most losses as a coach? I think he does.
There you go.
Yeah, but sometimes those records are an indication that you played a long time, and I think the pick six thing, maybe playing in Detroit with teams always trying to come from behind.
For sure.
Yeah. So my players to watch is I got multiple inside what I'm showing here on the screen. That's supposed to mean the defensive line minus Puna. The guys that have to step up if Puna can't go or if Puna's not 100%. And, mainly, Tyler Davis, Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk. You can throw in Ty Hamilton, Laurel Murchison, the whole gang. I was really, now I don't know if it's all on them, but the fact that we got, they basically ran it down our throat. Is our run defense that dependent on Puna? That really concerns me. So if Puna can't go or is limited, these guys got to step up and play better football. Mm-hmm. And this would be a good game to if the Cardinals can move the ball on the ground against us in this game, that would be we all should be concerned if Puna's out and that happens. So, man, these guys got to step up. Now, and by all accounts, Braden Fisk is having a really good year, by the way. I think he's graded out against the run and against the pass. Another guy that's not really, piling up tons of stats, but he's had a solid year. Mm-hmm. So I think we've discussed this game a little bit, enough to make our predictions. Any final thoughts on this game? Farbod, do you want to go first? How do you see this game playing out? And you got a final score for us?
Yeah, I think, like I said, this will be a bounce back game. I think we're going to be as focused as possible on both sides of the ball. I'll go with the prediction 35-10. Nothing too crazy, but it should be a comfortable win. Hopefully I don't eat my words like last week's prediction. And we really just take advantage of this limping Cardinals team with their key players out and their non-ability to run the ball, their poor pass and run blocking protections. It's just too ripe for the taking for this team. And I kind of just feel bad for any team that faces us after a tough loss because, like I said, we just come out hot the next game. I can only imagine how much better this week of practice was. The focus, the intensity. This team does not like to lose. That's the beauty of all of our players, of all of the draft picks, pickups, free agent wise, yada, yada. These guys love the sport. They don't want to lose. They don't like to lose. It hurts them a lot. So I do see us coming out absolutely on fire. And hey, I would love to see the first 50 bomb, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself here.
Yeah, this Cardinals defense is no slouch. You got to remember that.
Yeah.
How about you, Scott? What do you got for us?
I think the Rams will get back to their normal scoring average. I think they should score 31. I'm going to call 31-16.
That's a fair score. Yeah, I think I was had some recency bias tilting me towards a closer game. And I had said during the Keys to Victory segment with Ian, I think I said 27-14. And I think it's going to be, I think the Cardinals are going to have a hard time putting up points on this Rams defense, given all the injuries. But I also think the Rams offense, even if it plays at a high level, this Cardinals defense is not going to roll over. But I think, sometimes when your offense really struggles, it doesn't matter how well your defense plays. Eventually, they just start giving up touchdowns. They're on the field too much. They just can't hang that long. They're on,
Yeah.
and this Rams offense is probably going to, I'll stick with the prediction I originally had, 27-14, but I think a 27-10 type score might be more likely. I kind of said the same thing last week about the Panthers. I just didn't see them getting in the end zone more than a couple of times, and well, we were wrong on that. But the Panthers running game is much more formidable than the Cardinals right now, and missing those receivers, really big deal. The guy to watch, if I was going to talk about who to watch on the Cardinals side, it's going to be Trey McBride. They're going to have to lean on him a lot, but if that may be all they have, though, right? So, yeah, the Cardinals are not in a good spot. So, hey, closing question before we get out of here. Which team? I still have the Rams as the best team in the NFC, if not the NFL. Which team scares you most? Which team is going to present the biggest challenge for the Rams getting back to the Super Bowl? How do you feel, Scott?
Oh, this is a good question. I was watching Between the Horns podcast, and they covered what the Rams would have to do, what their schedule, what their final record would have to be to end up with the number one seed. And they looked at all the last 4 or 5 games for each of the top title contenders in the NFC. And boy, it's really difficult. I think the Packers still having to play the Packers in Lambeau could be one of the biggest, toughest games they play, or the Lions. But I think they can hold out against the Seahawks and beat everybody in the West. The Eagles, I think they're going to lose another game. I don't think they're going to have the number one seed. I think it could be somebody out of the North, either the Bears or the Packers, that probably end up possibly with the number one seed if the Rams don't get to 13 wins.
Fair enough. How about you, Farbod? How do you feel?
I mean, let me just clarify here, Mark. Are you asking who's our biggest threat to the number one seed, or who's our biggest threat as far as not allowing us to get to the Super Bowl?
Well, you can answer it either way you want, but which team, regardless of where they would play, which team would scare you the most in an NFC championship game?
I think just based off of history, it's got to just default to the Eagles or Niners, just because they have had us in our numbers a lot of more times than other teams. The Eagles just seem, even if we were destroying them the first half, oh my goodness, they come back the second half and beat us seemingly. And then there's always, no matter who's on the field for the Niners, there's, as long as Shanahan's out there calling the plays, there's always a chance for them to cause an upset. So I think it's between the Eagles or Niners are my biggest fears going up against in the playoffs.
Yeah, I would break it down like this, kind of covering all the different angles. The 49ers and the Eagles would be the most stressful, challenging games from the perspective you just mentioned, Farbod. I think Green Bay and Chicago, playing in either of those, playing away games in those places would be really tough. And the Packers have had our number a little bit recently as well. The Bears, I think, were a much better team. And I wouldn't be too concerned other than potentially playing in Illinois in January. Tampa Bay, assuming that they're coming out of the NFC South, we go through them every time to the Super Bowl. So I'd embrace that. And I think the Seahawks are the second best team in the NFC right now. I really do. But hey, it's a really competitive. The NFC is crazy right now. There's going to be a really, really good team left out of the dance. And it's going to be a bummer for whoever that is. It very well could be the Lions. Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to see them.
If the Niners take an unexpected loss, they could miss out. But the pressure's on all these teams, right? It's so many
Mhm.
teams with with a lot of wins in the NFC. It's crazy. But okay, I thought that would be a good discussion, a fun discussion. The
Yeah.
Rams' path to the number one seed, as well as the Super Bowl, and all the hurdles they're going to have to jump here to get there. But
Mhm.
I think I think we all agree the Rams are the best team in the NFC right now. Doesn't mean they're going to the Super Bowl though. There's there are some big challenges ahead for
Oh,
this
yeah.
team. Okay, guys, thanks a lot, man. That was fun, and we'll talk again next week if you guys are available. And man, hopefully some of these other NFC top teams take a loss while the Rams are taking a win. That would be sweet. Reduce the stress. I mean, losing that game to the Panthers just complicated things for us. It really did. Quite the bummer.
Oh yeah.
Big
Okay,
time.
guys, thanks a lot. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the game, and out here from Rams Up.
Go Rams.
See you guys. Enjoy the game tomorrow.